Hello friends, welcome to the channel. Today is the second day of how to think big. If you are new for the channel, subscribe this channel and press bell icon so that you will get notification of new video upload, and also don't forget to like and share. Let's start now. See what can be, not just what is. Big thinkers train themselves to see not just what is, but what can be. Here are four examples to illustrate this point. Number one, what gives real estate value? A highly successful realtor who specializes in rural property told me what can be done if we train ourselves to see something where little or nothing presently exists. Most of the rural property around here, my friend began, is run down and not very attractive. I am successful because I don't try to sell my prospects of farm as it is. I develop my entire sales plan around what the farm can be, simply telling the prospect the farm has dash acres of bottom land and dash acre of woods and is dash miles from town. Just stir him up and make him want to buy it. But when you show him a concrete plan for doing something with the farm, is just about sold. Here let me show you what I mean. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a file. This farm, he said, is a new listing with us. It's like a lot of them. It's 43 miles from the center of the metropolitan area. The house is run down and the place has not been farmed in 5 years. Now here's what I have done. I spent 2 full days on the place last week just studying it. I walked over the place several times. I looked at neighboring farms. I studied the location of the farm with respect to existing and planned highways. I asked myself, what's this farm good for? I came up with 3 possibilities. Here, there. He showed them to me. Each plan was neatly typed and looked quietly comprehensive. One plan suggested converting the farm into a riding stable. The plan showed why the idea was sound: a growing city, more love for the outdoors, more money for recreation, good roads. The plan also showed how the farm could support a sizable number of horses so that the revenue from the rides would be largely clear. The whole riding stable idea was very thorough, very convincing. The plan was so clear and convincing, I could see a dozen couples riding horseback through the trees. In similar fashion, this enterprising salesman developed a second thorough plan for a factory farm and a third for a combination factory and poultry farm. Now, when I talked with my prospects, I won't have to convince them that the farm is good by as it is. I help them to see a picture of the farm change into a money-making proposition. Besides selling more farms and selling them faster, my method of selling the property for what it can be pays off in another way. I can sell a farm at a higher price than my competitors. People naturally pay more for acreage and an idea than they do for just acreage. Because of this, more people want to list their farms with me, and my commission on each sale is larger. The moral of this: look at the things not as they are, but as they can be. Visualization adds value to everything. A big thinker always visualizes what can be done in the future. He isn't stuck with the present. Number two, how much a customer worth? A department store executive was addressing a conference of merchandise manager. She was saying, I may be a little old fashioned, but I belong to the school that believes the best way to get customers to come back is to give them friendly, courteous service. One day I was walking through our store when I overheard a salesperson arguing with a customer. The customer left in quite a huff. Afterwards, the salesperson said to another, I am not going to let a $1.9 customer take up all my time and make me take the store apart trying to find him what he wants. Is simply not worth it. I walked away, the executive continued, but I couldn't get that remark out of my mind. It is pretty serious, I thought. When our salespeople think of customers as being in the 1.9 category, I decided right then that this concept must be changed. When I got back to my office, I called our research director and asked him to find out how much the average customer spent in our store last year. The figure he came up with surprised even me. According to our research director's carefully calculation, the typical customer spent $362 in our establishment. The next thing I did was call a meeting of all supervisory personnel and explain the incident to them. Then I showed them what a customer is really worth. Once I got these people to see that a customer is not to be valued on a single sale but rather on an annual basis, rather on an annual basis, customer service definitely improved. The point made by the retailing executive applies to any kind of business. It's repeat business that makes the profit. Often there's no profit at all on the first several sales. Look at the potential expenditures of the customer, not just what they buy today. Putting a big value on customers is what converts them into big, regular patrons. Attaching little value to customers sends them elsewhere. A student related the pertinent incident to me, explaining why he will never again eat in a certain cafeteria. For lunch one day, the student began, I decided to try a new cafeteria that had just opened a couple of weeks before. Nickels and dimes are pretty important to me right now, so I watch what I buy pretty closely. Walking past the meat section, I saw some turkey and dressing that looked pretty good, and it was plainly marked 39 cents. When I got to the cash register, the check looked at my tray and said 1.09. I politely asked her to check it again because my tally was 99 cents. After giving me a mean glare, she recounted the difference turned out to be the turkey, she had changed my 49 cents instead of 39 cents. Then I called her attention to the sign which read 39 cents. This really set her off. I don't care what that sign says. It's supposed to be 49 cents. See, here's my price list for today. Somebody back there made a mistake. You will have to pay the 49 cents. Then I tried to explain to her the only reason I selected a turkey was because it was 39 cents. If it had been marked 49 cents, I would have taken something else. To this, her answer was, you will just have to pay for the 49 cents. I did because I didn't want to stand there and create a scene, but I decided on the spot that I would never eat there again. I spend about $250 a year for lunches, and you can be sure they will not get one penny of it. There's an example of the little view. The checker saw one thin dime, not the potential $250. Number 3, the case of the blind milkman. It's surprising how people sometimes are blind to potential. A few years ago, a young milkman came to our door to solicit our dairy business. I explained to him that we already had a milk delivery service and we were quite satisfied. Then I suggested that he stop next door and talk to the lady there. To this he replied, I have already talked to the lady next door, but they use only the 1/4 of milk every 2 days, and that's not enough to make it worthwhile for me to stop. That maybe, I said, but when you talked to our neighbor, did you not observe that the demand for milk in that household will increase considerably in a month or so? There will be a new addition over there that will consume lots of milk. The young man looked for a moment like he had been stuck, and then he said, how blind can a guy be? Today, that same 1/4 every 2 days family buys 7 quarts every 2 days from a milkman who had some foresight. That first youngest boy now has 2 brothers and 1 sister, and I am told there will be another young one soon. How blind can we be? So what can be, not just what is. The school teacher who only thinks of Jimmy as he is an ill-mannered, backward, and uncouth brat certainly will not aid Jimmy's development, but the teacher who sees Jimmy not just as he is now, but as he can be, she will get results. Most folk driving through Skid Row see only broken down, stumble bums, hopelessly lost to the bottle. A few devoted people see something else in the Skid Rowite. They see a reconstructed citizen, and because they see this, they succeed in many cases in doing an excellent rehabilitation job. Number 4, what determines how much you are worth? After training session a few weeks ago, a young man came to see me and asked if he could talk with me for a few minutes. I knew that this young fellow, now about 26, had been a very unprivileged child. On top of this, he had experienced a mountain of misfortune in these early adult years. I also knew that he was making a real effort to prepare himself for a solid future. Over coffee, we quickly worked out his technical problem, and our discussion turned to how people who have few physical possessions should look forward the future. His comments provide a straightforward sound answer. I've got less than $200 in the bank. My job as a rate clerk doesn't pay much and it doesn't carry much responsibility. My car is 4 years old and my wife I live in a cramped second floor apartment. But professor, he continued, I am determined not to let what I have got stop me. That was an intriguing statement, so I urged him to explain. It's this way, he went on. I have been analyzing people a lot lately, and I have noticed this. People who don't have much look at themselves as they are now. That's all they see. They don't see a future. They just see a miserable present. My neighbor is a good example. He's continually complaining about having a low pay job. The plumbing that's always getting fouled up. The lucky breaks somebody else just got the doctor bills that are piling up. He reminds himself to so often that he's poor that now he just assumes that he's always going to be poor. He acts as if he were sentenced to living in that broken down apartment all the rest of his life. My friend was really speaking from the heart, and after a moment's pause, he added, if I looked at myself strictly as I am, old car, low income, cheap apartment, and hamburger diet, I couldn't help but be discouraged. I would see a nobody and I would be a nobody for the rest of my life. I have made up my mind to look up at myself as the person I am going to be in a few short years. I see myself not as a red clerk but as an executive. I don't see a crummy apartment. I see a fine new suburban home. And when I look at myself that why I feel bigger and think bigger, and I have got plenty of personal experience. I have got plenty of personal experiences to prove it's paying off. Isn't that a splendid plan for adding value to oneself? This young fellow is on the expressway to really fine living. He has mastered this basic success principle. It isn't what one has that's important. Rather, it's how much one is planning to get that counts. The price tag the world puts on us is just about identical to the one we put on ourselves. Thank you so much. We will meet on the other day.